G'day everyone, let me show you how to weave transparent and editable text around anything in Photoshop. My name is Hoy and I make tutorials on Photoshop and Illustrator. In this video, we'll learn how to use text, layer styles including the stroke and knockout effect, and masks. For this exercise, you can use any image you like, but if you want to follow along with the picture I'm using, simply click on the link in the description below. To get started, open your image by going to File, Open, navigate to the folder where you saved your image, click on the file and press Open. We need to duplicate the background layer by pressing Command J. Although this is a simple project, it's always good practice to name your layers so you can keep track of them. Let's rename layer 1 to Chair and confirm that by pressing Return on a Mac or Enter on a PC. The next step is to make a mask. Make sure the Chair layer is selected and go to Masking Options. By default, the Object Selection tool is selected, but if you don't see it, and you see any of these icons instead, press and hold until these icons appear. You can do this for any of the tools here that have these little triangles at the bottom of the icon. As you can see, almost all of them have more options. With the Object Selection tool selected, make sure you have New Selection clicked and Object Finder checked. Photoshop will highlight the objects in pink. Here, it found the armchair, the bookshelf, the books, and the footstool. If your image doesn't show any highlights, press the refresh button here. Now, we need to make a selection by clicking on the armchair, which will then turn the pink outlines into a selection. The next step is to make a mask by clicking on the layer mask icon. And you're like, what? We did all that for nothing? Just for this black and white mask here? I promise you we'll get there, don't worry. Because we have an identical image underneath this layer, it doesn't seem like anything has changed, but trust me, if I turn off this background layer, you can see only the armchair. The next step is to create the text. You can go to the text tool here or press T on your keyboard. The color of the text will be what you used last. You can change it here. I'm going to choose white, but you can choose any color you want. I'm going to select my text and replace it with something really exciting like Hello Sunday. And I'll resize it bigger by scrubbing here to about 220 so it fills the screen a bit more. I'll confirm the change by pressing this checkbox. You can also resize your text by typing in the number here and pressing Return on a Mac or Enter on a PC to commit that change. Let's reposition the text layer so we can see it better. Go to the Move tool or press V on your keyboard. Make sure the text layer is selected and now drag the text somewhere onto the canvas. Now after seeing the full text, I actually want it a bit bigger. I can either double click on the text icon and adjust the size of it in the Properties panel like before, but because we've already used that technique, let's try another way. The other way is to drag it out like you would any shape. To do that, we need to see the transform controls. So with the Move tool still selected, I'm going to check the Show Transform Controls options and voila! I now have handles around the text for me to resize. You can see I can resize it any way I like, but because I want to keep everything in proportion, I'm holding down Shift while I'm dragging my mouse. Let's resize it to something like this and confirm the change by clicking here. The next step is to make an outline version of the text. Let's duplicate this text layer by pressing Command J so we have a copy for the outline. Move this Hello Sunday layer below the mask layer. You can either drag it down with your mouse or press Command and the left bracket key. That's the left bracket key next to the P key on North American keyboards. We'll rename this layer to Hello Sunday Outline just so we don't get confused about which layer is which. To make the outline for the text, we need to bring up the layer style menu. Double click on the empty area of this layer. Now make sure you click on the empty area, not the name of the layer, not this T icon, otherwise it will activate something else. With the layer style menu open, make sure you're on the blending options if that doesn't show by default for some reason. Let's reduce the fill opacity all the way down to 0. Now you can pause the video here if you want to check all the other settings. Click on the word stroke, now not the checkbox next to it. Photoshop is a bit funny like that. If you tick the checkbox instead of the word, you'll just turn on the stroke setting that you already have there, but you won't have the options of adjusting the settings. That's fine if your settings are exactly the way you want it, but we're going to make a few changes. We'll adjust the outline or stroke of the text here. A size of around 6 should be fine. Select center for your position. That just means that the stroke will partially overlap some of the text as opposed to, say, the outside option where the stroke will sit outside the text. The inside option will make the stroke sit inside the text. Normal blend mode is fine. We want 100% opacity and the fill type set to color. And finally, select the color you want. I'm going to leave mine as white and press OK. Wow, doesn't that look good? And the greatest thing about this technique is that it's all editable. Say you want to change the color or weight of the stroke, just double click on the word stroke on your layers panel and adjust it however you like. I liked it the way it was, so I'm going to undo that by pressing Command Z. These are also editable text, but the only thing is that these are two separate layers of text. So if you're going to change the text on one layer, make sure you change it on both layers. Otherwise, you'll have a disjointed text and the effect won't work as well. You can do that by double clicking on the text icon and changing it to something like Hello Friday on this layer. Then move to the other layer and do the same. Now this gets a little bit messy, so let's turn off this text layer and the mask layer by clicking on these eyes so we can see just this layer. Double click on the text icon and type the same Hello Friday. I'm going to confirm the change by pressing the check mark and turn these layers back on. Now the last tip is probably the most crucial, so if you're still hung around, congratulations, you'll find out the most critical tip. You want to link the two text layers, otherwise the effect will be broken when you move one layer. So select the top layer, then hold Command on a Mac or Control on a PC and click on the Hello Friday layer to select the non-contiguous layers. Right-click on an empty layer and select Link Layers. You know it's linked because of these chains. So now the effect will still be there whenever you move any of the text layer. And there you have it, weaving transparent and editable text around an object in Photoshop. Let me know what your favorite part of this video was, and if there's anything you'd like to see in Photoshop or Illustrator, please leave your comments down below. Thanks so much for watching, and if you found this video helpful, please like and subscribe and hit the bell icon so you can get notified for when the next video is out.